What's up, guys? I'm Chad Barnes, and welcome to the channel. Here, it's all about real car talk, from simple fixes to smart driving tips and keeping your ride in top shape. If that sounds good to you, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button and make sure you watch all the way through. There's a lot of good stuff coming. Let's get to it.
Here is what is interesting. Some car manufacturers boldly assure that the oil in the automatic transmission can do without replacement for the entire service life, but the replacement of antifreeze within the routine maintenance remains mandatory. Thus many motorists gladly agree to drive on old oil and as easily forget about antifreeze. They say that if there is nothing to the box, antifreeze will not throw any surprise. And it is absolutely in vain, by the way. Antifreeze has its own service life, and very limited. Depending on the brand, it is from 2 to 4 years, sometimes up to 5 and very rarely up to 10 years. And the one who wants to reach the highest degree of enlightenment in caring for his car knows that antifreeze, like brake fluid, is better to change every 2 years. Everyone else can change it at least every 4 years, and riders usually don't change it at all. What happens if you drive on the old, even if it is a high-quality antifreeze? The consequences will be very sad, although not always quick. First, over time, any antifreeze will release water. From bad antifreeze, more; from good antifreeze, less, but it is released. And water causes corrosion of cooling system parts. That is, old antifreeze reduces the life of the cooling system. In the most neglected cases, some part of the system may rupture before the turn, spit out old antifreeze and quickly, sometimes even fatally, overheat the engine. Secondly, no matter how hard engineers try to reduce the harmful effect of antifreeze on the system parts, it still slowly ages and contaminates the antifreeze with its waste. And the older it gets, the more impurities it contains. They clog the radiators, reducing their efficiency. The system becomes difficult to maintain the working temperature. It has to turn on the cooling fan more often, and in case of electronically controlled pump, the ECU activates it at full power. Of course, all this begins to wear faster, and the temperature does not always come to normal. Besides, when instead of pure antifreeze in the system is slowly formed brown sludge, any pump begins to work literally on wear and tear. It is difficult for it to pump this sludge. And the dirt particles intensively wear out the blades of the pump impeller. In principle, this is already enough to start to worry at least a little about the health of the car. But antifreeze can be not only old, but also of poor quality, for example, counterfeit. And then to these problems will be added others. For example, such antifreeze can boil at relatively low temperatures, the norm for antifreeze, 106 to 108 degrees at normal atmospheric pressure, tear pipes and corrode the aluminum alloy of the block, all radiators, pump and thermostat with acid present in it instead of ethylene glycol. The conclusion is obvious: sometimes you still need to change antifreeze. And it is necessary to change it to a good liquid, and not mixed in garage's liquid horror. By the way, and you can somehow distinguish the real antifreeze from fake sediment and foam if you take the question seriously, then home tests and quick checks by eye. This is not a very accurate way to detect fake antifreeze. You can check its quality only in the laboratory, but sometimes it may happen that somewhere on the road required urgent repair with the replacement of coolant. Then you have to stomp to the nearest store and buy what you have. And if it is some classic roadside stall with an unimpressive sign, auto parts, they can sell anything there. Therefore, a minimum inspection is still desirable. It is better to pay attention to transparent canisters, those in which the contents are at least slightly visible. And first you should simply turn the canister upside down. Sediment is not allowed in antifreeze. If there is at least some of it at the bottom, you should refuse to buy. If there is no sediment, then the canister should be shaken and look at the foam. It has the right to appear, but in 2 or 3 seconds it should completely settle. If the foam stands longer, it is something bad, not antifreeze. There are some more tests of antifreeze with soda and litmus paper, but frankly speaking, I don't see the point in them. Hardly anyone goes to car parts stores with soda and opens antifreeze canisters there for testing. And if there is an opportunity to buy litmus paper, there is also an opportunity to buy normal antifreeze. After all, it is on sale much more often than this paper. Although about the soda still explain, it allows you to detect in a cheap fake acid, which is found there very often. If you add baking soda to such antifreeze, a noticeable reaction will occur. In normal antifreeze nothing will happen. In the store such an experience is very problematic, but at least check the purchased antifreeze before pouring is quite possible. After all, it is better to spend a few hundred rubles for a canister of coolant than several tens of thousands for repair. But after pouring you can check one parameter, the color of antifreeze. If it has already become dirty, rusty or cloudy, the next day, it is better to drain it, it is a fake. Good antifreeze should not darken quickly. Of course, provided that the car at least occasionally changed antifreeze before, and its cooling system does not look like a dormitory sewer. Speaking of color, how easy is it to remember which colors of antifreeze can be mixed with each other and which can't? Red and green with the replacement of antifreeze is relatively simple, change it once every 2 to 4 years on something not fake, and everything will be fine. But mixing antifreeze is more complicated. Before we even start talking about it, I will immediately make a big reservation: color is not an indicator of the composition of antifreeze, it is just a dye, which may be different. So in general, mixing antifreeze at random by color should be avoided. To understand what you mix, it is better to have in the trunk of the canister with the remnants of exactly filled in your antifreeze. Or just a photo of the package. Well, now let's step on the dangerous ground of mixing cocktails. In short, you cannot mix red and green antifreeze. But this is very approximate, because color is not the main thing. But the designations G11, G12, G12+, G12++, and G13 give more accurate information. G11 is a traditional ethylene glycol antifreeze with inorganic corrosion inhibitors. It is suitable for a car with a copper or brass radiator. In a new car with an aluminum radiator, antifreeze with marking G11 is better not to fill. G12 and G12+ are also ethylene glycol antifreezes, but carboxylate antifreezes with organic corrosion inhibitors. Marking G12++ received Lobrid ethylene glycol antifreeze. They contain both organic corrosion inhibitors and silicon compounds. And it is antifreezes G12++ are theoretically able to serve up to 10 years. The others are not capable of this. Well, the most modern antifreezes are propylene glycol or Lobrid second generation with the marking G13. Of course, there is a dependence of antifreeze composition and its color. G11 is usually green, sometimes it can be blue. G12 and G12+ are distinguished by bright red color, G12++ can be both red and purple, and G13 is most often yellow or orange. Confused yet? And there are also hybrid antifreezes, combining both salts of carboxylic acids and inorganic salts, and their color can be diverse. And yellow, and orange, and green. And all other colors are conditional, they are not regulated by anything, so the manufacturer has the right to release the simplest antifreeze G11 and make it, for example, yellow. Nothing illegal in this will not be, so to be guided by color, a bad idea. It is better to look at the letter G and the numbers and after it, and remember, you cannot mix only G11 and G12, that is, usually green and usually red. All other antifreezes can be mixed. But with a few conditions. You can, but you don't have to. It is perfectly safe to top up antifreeze from the canister from which the antifreeze was once filled into the cooling system. The second relatively safe option is to add another antifreeze from the same manufacturer. All the same manufacturers may use their components, mixing which is not desirable. But if at hand there is antifreeze only another company, you need to make a choice. If you need to refill 200 grams, it is better to refill distilled water. Yes, the density of antifreeze will decrease, which is bad, but if the cooling system is good, nothing terrible will happen. But if you need to fill more, you will have to add any suitable antifreeze. Take into account that G12, G12+, G12++, or G13 can be mixed with each other without critical consequences. The main thing is not to accidentally mix G11 and G12. Besides, it is impossible to mix any tosol with antifreeze and different tosols, blue and red, with each other. True, then in any case it will be necessary to replace all the antifreeze you can drive on the mixture, but it is very undesirable. And it is necessary to be especially attentive to the replacement if there are plans to move from the old antifreeze G11 to the newer G12 will require a very high-quality washing of the entire system. And it is not a fact that the cooling system of an elderly car will tolerate it painlessly. The simplest and most correct solution is to use the brand of antifreeze recommended by the manufacturer. The manufacturer knows better what materials are used in the cooling system and which antifreeze can damage it and which will guarantee its long service life. In conclusion, understanding the dangers of dead water and the impact of antifreeze on your engine is crucial for every vehicle owner. Mixing different colors of antifreeze can lead to serious engine damage, so always check compatibility before adding any coolant. By being informed and proactive, you can protect your engine and ensure its longevity. Remember, a little knowledge goes a long way in maintaining your vehicle's health. Thank you for watching and drive safely.